Hi, I'm Jack, and in this video I want to share a method I've been using that employs Luma as a sort of render engine for composite shots. For background, I'm working on a project that's specifically meant as a vehicle for testing different ways the tool could be used in animation or VFX heavy pipelines. I need an establishing shot of a key location in the story, which is a Wild West saloon within this fantasy city that has a dense skyline of taller buildings. I want a low angle push in on the saloon in the foreground, and I want the skyline behind it moving in parallax, kind of like classic multi-plane camera techniques in traditional animation. I have the desired foreground, my approved design for the saloon. It's already made the skyline, and it can recreate it pretty accurately on its own, but flat and at eye level. Sometimes it has challenges combining finalized assets. So in this case, getting my foreground and background into a single frame just isn't happening. So instead, we're going to pretend that we're real-life grown-up composite artists, and we're going to take our approved foreground and background plates into Adobe Premiere. Step 1, we're going to turn our foreground into our first poor man's compositing asset. So we're going to roto out the buildings and ground and piece it out from the sky. Now we have our foreground key. We put it on top of the background. From there, I've applied lens distortion and basic 3D. With some very simple keyframe animations, we can warp this image to match the perspective of the foreground, and it's going to give us a little bit of control over the speed and depth of the parallax. It's pretty close, but the motion is not quite right, especially if you look at the edges of frame, and the edges of the key are really rough. We don't even need to comment on the lighting and color profiles of our two plates. They're completely different. It's not perfect, and it doesn't need to be. We're just trying our best because it's fun. What we need to do now is export our rough comp and grab a screenshot of the first frame. Then we feed it back into Luma. In order to fix the disharmony between our two plates, we're going to employ a written strategy that was devised by my coworker Keith. The strategy is called two-pass line art refinement, and it's going to break our start frame down into colorless black and white line art and then reshade it to harmonize. So from there, we approve our harmonized frame and then use it as the start frame when we run modify video on our rough comp. This should ultimately get you your final output from Luma, which is ready for touch-up, post-effects, color, and all that. I am not an animator or a visual effects artist or a compositor of any kind, but I really hope that this is helpful to people who are in ideating on how these tools can be used in all those respective workflows. Thank you very much for watching.